Hello, I'm Lynn Onstot with the City of Joplin. This show is called Joplin Insider, and it's designed to provide a behind-the-scenes look of different departments, programs, and services going on at the city. Today, I'm happy to have the Assistant Director of the Joplin City Health Department, Ryan Talken. Welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out today. I understand as the Assistant Director and in your role, you are in charge of the Environmental Health Division of the Health Department. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, environmental health is an area I wasn't as familiar with as I thought I was. I thought I knew. I looked on your website and was really surprised at the broad areas that you're responsible. Can you give our viewers a little bit a background of what environmental health entails?
Sure. Environmental health is basically everything to do with inspections. We do inspections of food establishments, lodging, daycares, pools, and then we also get involved in mosquito control, general environmental type complaints, and a little bit of communicable disease investigations.
So kind of a broad base. So we'll dive into some of those a little bit more detail. Sure. You mentioned the food establishments. I assume you mean like the restaurants?
Yes.
So what do you do in restaurants?
Okay, our primary thing in the restaurants is inspections. We do sanitation inspections. We make sure that everything's clean as it should be. We look at the overall condition of the restaurants, make sure that the walls, floors, ceilings, everything's right, plumbing systems. Food safety. We take temperatures of the food. We make sure that everything should be hot is hot and everything cold is cold.
So what are the temperatures for hot? And I don't mean to interrupt you, I apologize. So how hot is hot and how cold is cold?
Cold side, the actual food temp ought to be 41 or less.
Okay.
And then on the hot side, it's just changed. It's 135 now on the hot side.
Okay. So if they're serving or like a buffet.
Like a buffet, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good example.
And we have a lot of those in
We
Joplin.
do have a lot of buffets. And then with buffets, there's some variations we can do on that using time as a control, because as we all know, certain things on buffets don't like to hold hot.
Right.
And so with that, there's a timing system.
Okay. Okay. And obviously, the restaurant owner, the restaurant manager, cook, they know of these different rules, and so they're changing things out as needed. Because I know, like when I've gone to different restaurants, I see them bringing things in and out all the time and trading, even though the tray may not be completely empty.
It's a combination of food safety and also the food, like a food quality type of a system.
I mean, obviously if the food is out there, how are you testing the food? What kind of, do you have?
We test the food, we test the food. We use, this right here is a thermocouple.
Okay.
It's basically just a fancy name for a thermometer. It takes the temperatures of food. We check it with that.
A lot more advanced than my meat thermometer.
It's about the same thing. It's just
it's a lot more than
it's a lot more. Yeah. It's a lot
and then
more.
On it, I mean, this is something like the industrial would use.
Right.
They don't sell this for commercial, for like general.
But they would call the average homeowner probably wouldn't have this. The average home kitchen, you wouldn't really need it. You know.
Okay. You're obviously pulling it out of the oven and you're ready to
You're not feeding masses.
No.
So
except at Thanksgiving.
Except at Thanksgiving. This is true. But also we do food safety classes.
Okay. And
food safety classes, we offer those to our restaurants. We have a class usually every other month.
Okay.
We have about 30 people, give or take, in the classes. I'm trying to see here. Last year, we did 108 people trained.
Wow.
And so, that class is basically offered at our cost. It's a very cheap class with the hopes of being cheap, we get more folks to come through it.
Well,
and it's not necessarily it's designed for restaurants, but if anybody wants to take it, we'd be happy to have them. Sure.
Well, that's nice. Well, I know Joplin has a lot of restaurants, and it seems like we got several more after 2011 and the disaster. We lost some, and it was sorry to see those. Some of them did not come back, but we got a lot a lot more. After that, it seems like a lot of newer ones.
Sure.
So you educate them, and with these food safety classes, and you go out and visit. How often are we visiting the restaurants and checking on these things?
It depends on the type. We have them ranked either as a high, a medium, or a low. The lows, a good example is a convenience store, bakery.
Okay.
Mediums, fast foods,
Okay.
and highs are your full service.
So
Highs, we see them 3 times a year, mediums 2, and lows once.
that keeps you guys busy.
And then on top of that, any complaints that we get, we will go in and investigate on the complaints. And we use the term inspections, but it's inspection / partnership. And so a lot of times we'll get calls and they'll say, hey, we've got a new system, we have a new type of product, and would you guys mind coming in and just taking a look at this and just kind of working with us. And so it's inspection /
well, that sounds like a good partnership, like you
partnership,
said.
because at the end of the day, we're all in the same business.
Right.
Everybody wants to make safe food, because
Right.
if
We
it's
don't
not
wanna-
safe, nobody eats there anymore.
No,
So
it can create, a public problem if people
can
eat
cause
there. Multiple people
big
get sick.
problems,
Yes.
depending on
We'll
what
talk
it
about
is.
that area,
Yeah.
because I know you
Yeah.
track that as well. Well, you mentioned, some of the newer restaurants when they come in. So what do you do for the new restaurants before they open? Are you in there as they're building and helping them design their kitchens?
Before one comes in, we have a plan review process, and that process is us, health department, fire department, building department, planning and zoning. And basically we just come in, everybody sits down. First meeting is we just have a talk. We say, okay, where are you coming? What are you bringing? What kind of foods? And then depending on how much construction there is, depends on the type of architectural plans.
Okay.
And so the plans come in, we look at the plans, make any notes on the plans, we get in touch with the owners / architects and work out any potential problems, hopefully before the actual building process starts, because once that starts, it's a little harder to fix things than it is off plans.
Right, and this would save
off of
them a lot
paper.
more money.
Saves
doing it.
time, it
Yeah.
saves money, it
For
saves
the-
a lot of aggravation.
Right, because
So,
obviously, when they're making the food and keeping it clean as it goes out the door, even when it comes back in and disposing of it, there's a proper way to do that too, and washing the dishes, and
yes,
you look at all of
all
that.
the sanitation, all the chemical levels, heat levels, and the machines, dish machines, all of that. So
Yeah.
yes.
I have a dishwasher issue I might talk to you about.
Not a very good repairman.
Okay. Well,
I can pretend.
You can pretend. Well, that would be good. Well, speaking of watching the prep work and the cleanup work, I think of all the food vendors. We're getting ready to get into the warmer months, and we have different festivals, carnivals, whatever, and there are food vendors out there. Do you have to go out and talk with them and make sure their product is
We
at
do.
those same levels?
We do. Depends on the type of food vendors, what level of inspection.
Right.
There's basically 2 categories. Category 1 would be any food vendor that's at a event. And so events, we're pretty lax. We allow tents and folding tables and smokers and stuff of that kind of nature. But also with that, there's also less of a risk with it, because it's a short period of time,
Okay.
And the other category is our full-time, and with that, it's a truck. It's out there potentially 365 days.
Right, because
So-
we're starting to see some of those in Joplin.
Sure, and so with that, there's a little more expectation on those.
Right. And like you said, it's a partnership, because they want to make sure they're doing it right, because if they're going to continue to be in business, they want to
Sure.
make sure they're doing it right. So, well, I know we're talking about food, and I've seen the emails and different posts on Facebook about food recalls. So how can viewers and all of us learn about the food recall? Sometimes we hear about them and sometimes we don't. Do you help us with that?
Yes, we get the food food recalls, it's kind of a trickle down. It starts usually at the federal level. They notify the state then gets the list of where the product actually went to, and then they send that down to us, and then our job is to go out and actually lay eyes in the store to make sure that it's off the shelves. And then also with that, we will also post those off of our website. So, you know, if a consumer did purchase it and it's at home, you can look at it and say, okay, this is
right. And you also have a Facebook, right?
We have, yes.
Joplin Health Department.
Facebook. Yes, we do.
So there's your Facebook right there. They called it up for us. Thank you.
Thanks.
So they can see the different things. But I know the food recalls, that's something that, you know, you could go out and like the health department and ask to be notified when they post something. I do that with several of my sites, and it's helpful.
It's a good way for us to, you know, push it out.
Right, to get information to the public. Because sometimes, you know, in this busy world, we're not always reading the newspapers, hearing the radios, television stations. Because I know that's how I hear them sometimes, but often I come into work and I check your site. So to see if it's in our area. Because the national news will sometimes make it sound like it's worldwide, but
and it's, you know, there's times too where we may have a pretty broad recall, but there may only be one location here within the actual Joplin city limits.
Well, that's good. That's good. So I would encourage everyone to do that if they could. So we're changing gears a little bit. You mentioned hotels and lodging. How are you involved with that area?
Hotels, lodging, we do safety and sanitation inspections there. We do inspections on those once a year. And we do those in conjunction with Joplin Fire Department, because they're also there. And so we go at the same time. You know, we look for everything from fire safety issues, electrical, just the overall cleanliness of the rooms, bed bugs.
Bed bugs. I'll stop you there.
Okay.
Because I'm hearing a lot about bed bugs. How would we know if we go into a hotel? Do hotels let you go in and check their rooms first? Should they? Or should we ask that? Or should we?
I don't know if they would or would not, but I would encourage everybody to look.
And how do we do that?
Pull back the covers, the sheets, and just take a look at the mattress. I don't know if we can see this or not. If not, there's we can
hold it up.
Probably show it later. If not, there's this one right here shows a picture of the blood spotting. A lot of times, if you go. If there's bed bugs, you may not see the actual bug because they hide, and they hide very well. But you will a lot of times see those little black blood spotting.
Okay, and that's like in the mattress.
It's in the mattress normally.
Okay, like kind of where the lining is. I mean, where the
seam of the mattress is. That's kind of the normal spot for them.
It's kind of like ticks in your shoelace.
Sure, same thing.
I'm familiar with that.
Same thing. But yeah, take a look at it. You know, nobody's immune to it.
Okay.
It can happen.
I can say, you know, we've had kids, and my kids have had lice. I mean, it's one of those things that if you have kids, you're bound to go through that.
Nobody's immune to it.
Right, but that's something we need to start watching throughout the area. You know, we used to think it wasn't going to hit us, and
it's more and more and more
because of the travelers and things like that.
And that is something that, as a homeowner, you do not want to bring those.
I've heard you have to really heat up your house and do quite an extensive clean.
It's very in depth. It's
worse than fleas, huh?
Yeah, it's a hard process to get rid of bed bugs once they start. And I would add that most of the motels will really take this pretty serious.
Yeah.
And same type of a thing, partnership. You know, they're not going to rent rooms if they have a bad reputation.
Yeah.
And so the motels are getting really, really good at identifying these, seeing the signs. They have housekeepers that are trained now. Everybody's watching for them.
Right.
And if there is a reported problem, they are pretty aggressive at making sure that it's
because
taken
again,
care of.
if they're not addressing the problem, they're going to be out of business. So yeah, does no one good to ignore it.
Yep.
So we're all in it together,
But
like you said. So.
as the consumer, it's still prudent to look because
Sure.
you don't want them and you don't want to spread them. If
Right.
you're going down the road, you don't want to pick them up here and move them elsewhere and move them here. We don't want
Yeah,
them.
and someone
So,
said, before you check, leave your luggage outside even. Don't
Yeah.
even put it on the bed. Just
That's
go in and check.
good advice.
Yeah. So I'm like, I hadn't thought of that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Well, speaking of bugs, as much as I hate to mention it, it's starting to be that season for mosquitoes.
It is.
And I know mosquitoes is a big program for the health department, trying to prevent them, trying to eliminate them. So I know you brought some things to talk about mosquitoes, but what all do we do to combat mosquitoes for the health department?
Sure. Mosquitoes, we start mosquito season normally in March around here. Once the night times start to stay warm. This time of year, you'll see a few here and there on a
Well,
warm
this
day.
warmer weather last
Right.
week was crazy.
They'll come out. Those are mostly adults that overwintered somewhere. They found a warm spot. So they will come out. You'll hit and miss this time of year, but come mid-March, early April, that's when they really start coming out in force. We hire a seasonal person part-time, and they go out and help us larvicide, help us spray. Larviciding are these little dunks.
Okay.
What
Oh,
this
you
is.
called up our website. I wasn't even looking. So yeah, all about mosquitoes. So yeah.
These little dunks here is what we use.
Dunks.
We go
Those
through.
look like donuts.
They kind of do.
Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' mosquito donuts.
So we go out with those and we pre-treat areas that we know hold
Water.
standing water,
Like maybe
such
a
as
ditch.
road ditches, low-lying areas in parks, other public
Yeah, if we're
places.
having rain after rain and
Right.
we're not
And no
drained.
matter how much you try to landscape it and all, there's still going to be little puddles here and there in a very wet season. So we go through and treat standing water. We also fog, and we fog normally early mornings, very, very early. And we try to get out there before everybody's up and moving around.
And when you fog an area, you post it on your website,
We
right?
do,
So
yes,
people
we
can,
do.
again, another reason to go out to the website, Facebook, like them, because you'll get information about that.
That's very true. And if a person has any complaints on it, or if they have any concerns, watch that site, call us up, and if you say, hey, I don't want my house fogged, we'll shut it off as we
Go by. Okay, well, that's good.
as we pass. We fog, we larvicide, and then also we do code enforcement where we ask folks to kind of maintain their own yards.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for it. Mosquitoes, especially the kind that are like now in the news, we have Zika virus. You hear that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
The type of mosquito that they are concerned of is a container breeder. And so what that means is it most prefers a container of sorts. So like an empty bucket, an empty pop bottle, anything in the yard, dog dishes, bird baths, so on.
The kids' little bucket that they left outside.
And it takes basically 7 days.
Okay.
So once it comes down, once it lands, it takes about 7 days time for it to lay the egg and hatch.
Produce. And how many eggs?
Oh, I don't know. It's a bunch. We've had just kind of playing around. We've had that was an old Frisbee. And we had it outside, and within about 8 days time or so, it was full of the larva.
Yeah.
And so it
creates problems.
Creates a big
well, and so
problem.
that is a call out to property owners, residents in Joplin to please watch your yards. It's easy.
It's
to
easy,
forget.
it's cheap,
Yeah.
and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Just go out there and
walk around
dump
the yard.
stuff out,
Yeah,
pick
see-
stuff up, change out every 7 days if it's a bird bath. We're not asking you to completely get to eliminate that stuff.
Right,
Just take
Yeah.
care of it. All of this kind of stuff, it's expensive. It costs money.
Right.
Whereas dumping water in your own yard.
Yeah, and mowing your grass.
Mowing your grass, cleaning your gutters.
Oh, that's a good one.
There's a lot of mosquitoes that live up in.
I had not
inside
even
of
thought of that,
gutters.
but yeah,
So,
standing water in gutters, because
Yep.
that's not a job that I do. It's one that is a honeydew, let's say.
there you go.
So that's interesting. So is there, again, information on the website that they can do? We talked a little bit about your backyard and your yard, and that makes me think about other water in our yards, swimming pools. So I know I've heard different times your department or staff in your department talking about going out and inspecting pools.
We do.
So what kind of pools? Every pool in town?
No, we look at public pools and what we classify as semi-public pools, which
Okay.
are apartment complexes, community organization type places, parks, things of that nature. So backyard pools, private residential, no, we don't see those unless we get a complaint on a mosquito issue of the pool being green, and then we get to see them.
Well, and again, what are we watching for in pools, and what are you testing specifically?
Okay, well, what we look for general safety equipment. We want to make sure that there's a fence around it with a self-latching gate, throw rings, shepherd's crooks, that's the big long pole thing you can pull a person out with. Make sure that the disinfecting equipment, chlorinators and such are all working. Electrical hazards, that kind of a thing. And then also water chemistry. We make sure that either chlorine levels, bromine levels, everything's where they should be. We see pools once a month.
Oh, wow.
So we go through those. And
Even like the indoor pools,
indoor
all year,
pools,
it's year round.
all the spas, all the indoor.
Spas, too.
So
And it seems like we have a few more of those, too.
Yep, so more and more and more.
So hot tubs, like you said,
Hot tubs, yes.
all of that. So, because it seems like the hot tubs are always cloudy, but that's just because of the bubbles and the chemicals in them, I guess.
That's part of it.
I'll admit, I'm a concrete pond kind of girl. If anybody remembers Beverly Hillbillies,
Exactly.
I'm a concrete pond girl. I like to see the bottom.
Me too.
So I've always wondered.
That's another thing on the inspections too, is the actual water, how clear it is.
Yeah.
You should be able to look down in a standard pool and in the deepest part see all the way down. If
Okay.
it's cloudy, that's usually a sign of something's
wrong.
Something's wrong.
And if it's
So,
green, just stay away.
If it's green,
Just
stay away.
Stay away and
Stay
call.
away.
And
Yes.
call the health department,
Exactly.
please. So, well, you mentioned inspections, and I think one of the first ones you mentioned was daycares. So I want to circle back to the daycares and the young kids, our younger citizens getting some, their facilities getting some inspections.
Yes, daycares. We do sanitation inspections there. That's in conjunction with the state. It's a state contract. We go through those once a year and just basically make sure that everything is as it should. Diapering areas are clean, sanitized. Food areas are clean, proper temps. Just kind of.
Do you go through like their
general
procedure, like what their
sanitation.
day, and how they?
That's not us.
Okay.
There is a person who does that, but
and
it's
kind of certifies them, so to
the
speak.
state. It's kind of broke up.
Okay.
And we basically just kind of contract with them.
So you're again looking for that cleanliness.
We're looking for
and
sanitation issues,
hygiene issues,
hand washing, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, because with kids, there's germs.
And the caretakers.
Right,
It can go both ways.
That's true. That is true. I shouldn't put it on the kids. The kids just don't learn how to blow their nose very well and cough and things like that. So, well, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. Are there other areas that I haven't hit on? We mentioned quite a few, but are there other things going on?
We do investigations also on disease issues. If our department, we do all the tuberculosis, infectious disease type stuff, the Hep A's, the
So when you
E.
say you do an
coli's.
investigation, what does that mean?
That means our main job is to try to figure out basically where it came from, and then find the source and basically make it stop.
Okay.
And then also track down any contacts. And so say if I was sick and I had, hepatitis A, the health department would then contact me and find out who my friends are, what I ate, where I've been, who I've been with, and then track down those folks and say, hey, you've been exposed, this is the course of action that needs to happen. And so that stops it from spreading one more generation.
So it's kind of an NCIS of germs.
It's not quite as fancy as they make it on TV, but it's the same thing. We're just tracking down.
Just backtracking exactly where were you when, you don't know when you contracted it, but where have you been recently?
Sometimes you do.
Okay.
And then there's all kinds of neat stuff in it. Genotyping, like where if I get sick, it can be cultured out, and it can say, okay, you got a specific genotype. And so then if you get sick, then they can culture that one and say, okay, Ryan passed it on. Or you could get sick with the same thing, but a different strain, and then it would say, you're sick, but you didn't get it from me, you got it from elsewhere.
So then you have two cases kind of you're working.
Right.
So that can get pretty busy.
It's kind of neat, yeah.
Yeah, it would be neat, but it's pretty busy. So how many in your department are working on that at a time?
Full-time, we have one.
Oh.
Full-time one, and then part-time two. We have help with that.
Yeah. So, and then again, like you said, you're working with the state in some cases, depending on where
what
it
is.
from. Well, I know, we've had
federal level sometimes. So.
We've had a lot of things talked about coming into our country, coming into our state, things of that nature. So you guys get a lot of notices from the state about be watching, be aware, I guess, be alert.
Sure, we get those.
So what do? Do you kind of, tell everyone to wear a mask? I mean, how do you?
It depends on what it is.
We don't want to scare the public by means. Yeah.
Right. It depends on what it is. We follow guidance from state, who normally gets it from the CDC level.
Sure.
And again, back on the websites and the Facebook pages.
Yeah. So those are the places you
we
really
find
need to
out
go.
information and we get stuff.
And they've got your phone number on there too. They could always call.
Sure.
So, well, there's anything else that we need to be? I mean, you've got a lot going on. I don't know how you. What's the most challenge? What's the biggest challenge?
Oh, biggest challenge I would say is probably just getting the message across. Getting public to understand the importance of it.
Well, there you go, and that's why we're utilizing so much the Facebook and the website. So that's a great way to get information. I know. You guys are very active in posting things. I try to help put information out there. There's a section on our website. You can do a notify me. You can get notifications. So encourage the public to do that. Well, that kind of wraps up our 30 minutes. You've given us a great deal of information about our community and community health. We appreciate you and your staff taking care of us and keeping us safe and healthy in all the different areas. Now when I go different places, I know kind of what to look for a little bit to know about cleanliness, and if it's been inspected and passed recently. It would be closed if it wasn't, I know that, but still. Well, I do appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to close this show, but I do appreciate you watching. And if you have any ideas for future topics for the City of Joplin, please give me a call. I'm Lynn Onstot, the City of Joplin. Thank you.